After setting up our linear programming problem for example 3 from section 2.2.1 in the text production planning, in this screencast we are going to solve it using Excel. But first I want to point out when these notes are posted, finish setting up the equation as compared to where the last set of where the last screencast left off. And so now here's my compact, if you will, linear programming problem written out. Again, I didn't list our undelivered expressions within constraints because they're not necessarily constraints. Ideally, you would substitute those into the objective function and simplify. I'm not going to do so because one, I think this is a little more clear, and then two, ultimately right now we're solving on a computer, and so we can make the computer do it for us. Okay, so before I flash over to Microsoft Excel, I just want to point out that I've gotten a little bit of a head start. By head start, I mean I've typed up this table over in Excel. Okay, so we'll go over there, we'll get everything set up, and just like all the other problems, we'll try and keep it more general in case you want to play some what if, ask some what if questions and things of that nature. All right, so here I am over in Excel, and so again I just essentially typed up the table. Okay, so I've got for all 4 departments, here's my rates in terms of times and hours per unit produced, unit of product produced, the capacity of each department. Here's our demand, and again, the demand I'm taking to be the number of units that have been ordered. That was, the wording of the problem statement. Profits per unit delivered of each type, and then the penalty for undelivered units. All right, so what I'm going to do next to help me solve it up is I'm going to create a row for the number of units delivered. Okay. So the number of units delivered, this is actually what we're solving for, right? And so let me label it, that's our xi variables. And so, when we're solving in Excel, we need to start with some guesses. So I'll do, say, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm also going to create a row for the units undelivered. Okay, those were our yi variables. Okay, remember our y variables aren't necessarily constraints, but they're just equal to the demand for each product type minus the number of each product type delivered. Okay, so in this case equals B7 minus B10. Okay, equals because it's a formula. I want to make sure that it's updated so that when my solver changes the number of units delivered as it's trying to solve, that the number of units undelivered is updated appropriately. And then all I did is drag across, so I'd have to re-enter it every time. Okay, great. So next we can define our objective. Okay, so our objective is to maximize our total profits. Okay, and that's going to be, our total profits will be in dollars. Okay, so I'll just write in dollars. And so that was, we needed to sum over all products, and it'll be, so equals, so sum over all products, number of units delivered, times the profit per unit. Okay, cool. Okay, so plus number of units delivered of product 2 times the profit per unit, number of units of product 3 times the profit per unit, plus number of units of product 4 times the profit per unit. And then we had to subtract off our penalties. Okay, so I'm going to do minus number of units undelivered of product type 1 times the penalty, minus, okay, so plus negative, so minus number of units undelivered of product 2 times the corresponding penalty, minus number of undelivered units of product 3 times the penalty, minus the number of undelivered units of product 4 times the penalty. Bam. Okay, so since most of undelivering a whole heck of a lot more units than I am delivering. Right. So far, right now I've got a profit of a negative profit. All right. So next, you want to work up our constraints. Okay. And so my first set of constraints I want to look at is we'll do capacity in each department in hours. Okay. So, and actually, let's just say, let's compute the production time. And I'm going to call it time in each department. Okay. And then let me copy and paste all my departments just so I have them. Okay. So my time in each department, don't need demand. So how we would compute the time in each department. Now remember, that's just going to be the number of units, the sum over the number of units of each type delivered, right? Because if I'm delivering the unit, then that means I made it. Okay, so our number of delivered units would be the same as our number of produced units. So it'd be the number of units delivered times. Okay, so right now I'm in the cutting department. The rate, so this is hours per unit made in cutting. Okay, so that, okay, plus number of units of product 2 delivered times the production rate in our cutting department. We'll do the same thing for product 3 and same thing for product 4. Beautiful. Okay, so it's sum over number of units of each type produced times the rate, so in terms of hours per unit produced. So this sum would give me the total time in hours required in cutting to make those units. Okay. Then I need to do the same thing for insulating, sewing, and packaging. Okay, as I look at it, in each case the number of units isn't going to change. It's just we're going to be referring to the row below. And so what I'll do then is units delivered, so that's B10, C10, D10, and E10. Okay, I'm going to add a $ in front of the C, so the row and column number to reference those. And then in doing so, I can just drag down. So I don't need to re-enter every time, right? So if I click on this insulating row, right, our formula is correct. Number of units delivered times the rate, where now it's properly referring to the insulating row. As we've mentioned before, right, I could say subtract the capacity from this expression so that my constraint would be less than or equal to 0, but it really doesn't matter. It's just a matter of preference. So I'll just keep it as is. That way, one nice thing or something that's nice about doing it in this way is, this has physical, or makes physical sense, right? It's easy to see. This is the time in each department required to produce those units. And then when we add our constraints in Solver, we can specify what the capacity is rather than subtracting it. So those are our constraints that we need to type up. The other constraints we have are just our demand constraints, but that's easy enough. We will add them in Excel, but we'll just point to our variables and then have them less than or equal to demand. And then this is just our non-negativity constraint, which we could always get from just checking the box in Solver, or we could manually enter all of those. All right, so under data, okay, I'll go to Solver. And so and actually let me delete all these. Okay. Must not have, properly exited out of my sheet from last time. Okay. But my objective function is going to be the cell. I want to maximize that. Okay. My variables that I'm going to change are going to be my number of units delivered. Okay. Remember, my only variables are the units delivered, not the units undelivered, because those are fixed. Once the number of units delivered is set, the number of units undelivered is fixed. Okay, so it'll just be that row. Then I need to go through and add my constraints. So my constraints will be the time spent in the cutting department needs to be less than or equal to the capacity of the cutting department. Time spent in insulating needs to be less than or equal to the capacity of the insulating department. Time spent in sewing needs to be less than or equal to the capacity of sewing. Time spent in packaging has to be less than or equal to the capacity of packaging. And then we have the number of units of product 1 needs to be less than or equal to the demand for product 1. The number of units of product 2 need to be less than or equal to the demand for product 2. The number of units of product 3 need to be less than or equal to the demand for product 3. And the number of units of product 4 need to be less than or equal to the demand for product 4. Okay, we could manually enter our non-negativity constraints by saying that x1 has to be greater than or equal to 0, and do the same thing for 2, 3, and 4. But that's also achieved in Solver just with this checkbox to make sure that our variables are non-negative. Okay, and if it's not selected too, you just want to make sure you've got simplex LP highlighted for your method type. So we'll cross our fingers. There's a lot here. If I click solve, I get the solver found a solution. Okay, and so we get this. Here's our total profit in dollars. Here's the number of units of each type delivered. It looks like the only order we're not fulfilling is with respect to pants. So if I go back and look at the solution we were given up here, so the optimal solution was 800 parkas, 750 goose jackets, 387.5 pairs of pants, got it, and then 500 pairs of gloves. So perfect. And the profit's $64,625. All right, so we solved it correctly. I think my word of advice, from the first screencast in which we set up the linear programming problem, is this problem is a lot bigger and more involved, but the solution strategy is exactly the same as the first two example problems that we solved that were smaller. It's just there's more to it. A couple of the extra wrinkles here is just keeping track of what we have, right? Demand is the number of units that have been ordered here. So when we need to figure out the penalty and how many units have been undelivered, it's just the number that were asked for, the number ordered, minus how many we made, right? So the undelivered number isn't a variable at all, right? It's fixed. Once the number so the number delivered is a parameter, so when that's known and fixed. Once we have the number of delivered and that's known and fixed, then it's fixed. So it's not a variable, right? And so that'd be one common point of confusion. Another tip. So in theory, you should substitute in these expressions for the number of undelivered into our objective function and simplify. I didn't do that, right? And the reason I didn't do it is because if I go over to Excel, right, I can just define these number of undelivered, using a formula. And for me, I'm a lot less likely to make a mistake when I break it up like that. And then it also makes it easier for me in terms of noticing potential errors, because now my objective function, right, clearly this is a little more clear to me that this is, the profits from delivered items, and then this is the penalty from undelivered items. Okay, but that's just me, and so. Yes, it's a bigger system of equations. Solution strategy setting it up was still exactly the same, and we were still able to solve it just the same in Excel. So hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, please let me know.